call this meeting to order. Roll, please, ma'am.
Myers.
Here.
Hardinger.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Ragland.
Here.
Showalter.
Here. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Did we have anybody sign up for public comment? Thank
You
you.
have the Arts Council folks.
Oh, yep. We do have the Arts Council scheduled, so I'll turn it over to you guys, let you talk.
All right, so we'll keep it short. But a couple months ago, the Arts Council came to present, just to let everybody know about like an emergency meeting that they were going to host on April 30th. So Darla and I are up here just to kind of inform everybody of the results of that meeting. So pretty much all but one person on the board had resigned during that meeting. So we've got a new board running it. Myself, Darla Mossberger, Ron Harding, Jessica King, Brittany Wisnat,
And Jennifer Golden.
Jennifer Golden House. So we're taking over, just trying to revamp everything and set it up so it can be sustainable. So new programs, a lot of physical updates to the building, things like that. So Darla brought some photos here. I think she wants to share with you
I
guys.
just wanted to mainly come to say thank you to the city. It has been amazing what has happened there, the transformation. I did take some pictures to Kent, and I just brought 4 of them. He was there the next day with it. His crew was there to paint the flag poles and the light poles, and they're just such an improvement. If you haven't seen it, we got the basement entryway cleaned out, and then this was the old sidewalk. So I just want to encourage you to stop by, see the brickwork the city has done and the new cement, and we're just continually making changes to the inside.
Yep. So at the moment, we're going to try to host a grand reopening on July 24th at 5 p.m. So we'll do a ribbon cutting, have some food vendors there. We'd like to invite the public out, so you guys as well if you'd like to come. So we're going to try to host a arts gallery during that time of local Western Kansas art, whether that's art made here, art that represents Western Kansas, just sunflowers, things like that. Doesn't really matter, but that's our intention during Alumni Weekend to try to draw a lot of people in. So everybody's invited. We hope to see you guys there.
Free food the first night.
That's right.
An ice cream social the second day, and then charcuterie probably the third day of our grand reopening. So I encourage people to get there and see what's happening.
What was the date on that?
July 24th is the Thursday, the first day of reunion,
Ribbon cutting is what time?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
So that's all we got. So any questions from anybody?
Well, I'd just like to commend you guys for all stepping up and being willing to serve. A community this size does not operate unless people are willing to step up and volunteer for boards like that. So thank you, everybody, for giving up your time and efforts to make the Art Center go. So thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I think Kent and his crew was probably getting tired of me driving by. I really wasn't checking on their work all the time. I just had a lot of business in the area, so I did get to see all the updates, so
It looks nice.
that was great. All right, we'll move on to proclamations and presentations. We have options here. You'd step on up here. Thank you. Introduce yourself.
My name is Dawn Gable, and I'm with Options, which is the Northwest Kansas Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services. We give you a report every year about what's going on, and this year in your county, 29 domestic violence incidences were reported, resulting in 38 arrests. How does that happen? Because probably both people on the incident were arrested. That is 131%. And the KBI gathers this data. Now, this was 2023. KBI moves slower than the rest of us, so we match our data of services to their data. And we all report up, the police, sheriff, we report up to the KBI because 3/4 of the murders in Northwest Kansas are domestic violence, and a third in the whole state of Kansas. So getting a grip on that, we have seen a slight decrease, thank goodness, with that, with all the good work everybody's been doing. But your law enforcement's done an amazing job. I'll just start that out right there because the state average is 52%. We like to see it at least 60% for the state, and they're at 52% arrest because you say, why is that a good thing to get arrested? It's a good thing to get arrested because it triggers a whole bunch of services for people so they don't keep doing the violence. And to have 131% of the folks involved in is just extraordinary. We look at the sexual assault. Now, not all of our sexual assaults get reported, just like domestic violence. 2 rape incidences happened and were reported to police officials in 2023, and 100% were arrested. I do all the counties, and I have to say this is the very first one where all of the sexual assaults reported to the police were arrested. And bravo, thank you. I don't know if anybody's here tonight, but great job to your law enforcement in your county. Options provided 5 survivors to sexual assault services. So obviously not everybody reports it, but that is their choice, and we provide services either way. We have a headquarters in Hayes and Colby. We're in the process. We do not provide shelter at this time anywhere but in hotels out here. Hotels, we provide, that's costly, and shelter in Hayes. Otherwise, we'll help them get shelter with family, friends. We are putting in 8 shelter beds is our goal in Colby. We have the building we've had for a few years is quite large, but it wasn't built for housing people. It was a law office. So we're going to remodel that and get some shelter beds. We're showing as 0 shelter beds for your county, which is weird because you have tech, a school. The 3 largest consumers of our services are Hayes, Colby, and Goodland, as you might imagine, in Northwest Kansas, because the average age of someone experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault is under the age of 35. So we will be adding those shelter beds. We are serving people in Goodland a lot and getting them security. It's just that you don't have shelter beds and you're so far out, you can't really commute from Hayes. But I will say that we have provided over 100 services on domestic violence in your county. And so that's a lot of activity, but we're just down the road in Colby. And we have 2 wonderful advocates. And then we have 2 mobile advocates out of Hayes that serve all of the counties and are in every single county at least twice a month, doing counseling, open office hours, education in the schools, etc. We're working with the hospitals. We have a loose, sane sexual assault nursing exam when your 2 rape cases in 2023 that were reported had to go through the legal exam. And we have that set up at Hayes Medical Center, as you might imagine, but we do have a program here in Goodland. And we'd like to get a dedicated nurse to that, but we do have a physician involved that we do have services for this side of the state with your hospital. Now, we are not funded by tax dollars. We are funded by the Victims of Crime Act, which is the fines that are paid across the United States and the state of Kansas for bad behavior. And but the state and federal governments leave an 18% hole in funding for all domestic violence organizations to make sure that local funding is happening. And we have put an appropriation request in again for your city. It's $3,000. We hope that you will consider funding that amount for this next year. Do you have any questions?
You have any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
I unfortunately brought a different county's report, so I'm going to email your clerk your report, and that person can get those to you. There's a lot of really great information. At any time that you'd like, look that over and ask some questions, please feel comfortable reaching out. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, items A and B. Item A is the 6/2/2025 commission meeting minutes. Item B is appropriation ordinances 2025-12, 2025-12A, and 2025-P12. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve consent agenda items A and B.
Have a motion by Commissioner Howard,
Second?
second by Commissioner Myers. Mary, roll.
Archer,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes. Thank you. Move on to ordinances and resolutions. Item A is the resolution 2025-16. Request set for public hearing for 404 Harrison Avenue. Invite our building inspector to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was called over to 404 Harrison with our police department as well as DCF. There's an ongoing investigation, so I can't get into too many details as to what was going on. The inside of the house was very dirty, not clean, unsanitary. There's spider webs all the way around the ceilings, not just in the corners, it was the whole thing. The kitchen had cardboard boxes broken down, and that's what they were using for a ceiling. Floors sinking in the kitchen and in the bathroom. There's been some simple repairs made, but not to a quality of being livable and a safe standard. The current residents inside are not the owners. The owner is here tonight. I don't know if he wants to say anything. We have been discussing, he is looking at getting the trailer pulled out. We're just looking at the avenues of how to do so, whether it's going to be getting somebody to split it and take it out in halves, or if they're going to have to deconstruct it by hand. There would be the kitchen ceiling. They did use a 2x4 somewhat to hold it up on some of the good roof trusses that were still intact. The bathroom was covered in black mold on the ceiling. None of the doors latched by their own means. They were all secured shut with bungee cords and/or latch and clasps and padlocks. There you can see where the floor sunk in. That line is supposed to be where the counter should be across there, and as you can see, it's falling into the house. That's just a hole in the floor that was covered with tape. And that's where they've replaced the floor but didn't appropriately cover it to keep moisture out of it. So where the 2x4s have been laid across is how they walk across to get to the actual toilet itself. That's, yeah, all black mold in there. Does anybody have any questions?
You may have any questions? Does the property owner want to say anything tonight? Make any statements?
I'm here and I am going to work with Zach whatever way they want to work with this. When I bought it, I had no idea what the inside of it was. Sorry to say.
Gotcha. I assume then, Zach, it's your recommendation that we move forward with set for public hearing just so we can start the timetable to make sure that we're able to hold with the process?
Yes, sir. And then once we get to the public hearing and you guys make your findings, you can set a timeline as well for me to work off of with the property owner.
So do you understand kind of how this works? So we'll make this ruling tonight, but that doesn't mean we're coming there with a bulldozer or anything. It just means you need to make sure you keep working with
Oh, yeah.
the building inspector. Okay.
Any idea what the eventual timeline might be?
That'll be something that we'll answer for you in upcoming meetings, but hopefully you're able to work with Zach to get that taken care of before we even get to that point, so.
Okay.
It's over a month before the public hearing.
Yeah. With that being said, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-16, setting the public hearing for 404 Harrison.
Second.
I have a motion by myself, second by Commissioner Myers. Do we want to set the date before we make the motion, or do we just want to move forward?
It's in the resolution.
It's in the
It's in the
resolution.
resolution? Okay. All right, perfect. Mary, roll, please.
Howard.
Yes.
Redlin.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Archer.
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Lee, I got JW's number. Do you want to come to my office?
All right, we'll move on to formal actions. Planning Commission appointment for Curtis Penrod. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, members of the commission, we have a vacancy on the planning commission due to Mary Ellen Kumra moving to another state. This is the only application that's been received to serve on the planning commission. And Curtis also says he's presented as part of his work, he's an architect, to several different planning commissions, so he thought it was a good opportunity to serve the community as being a member of the planning commission. So with the planning commission, we also include a short set of questions because the planning commission does have some authority. So it's not like the other boards which are advisory only. The planning commission does have some authority. So that's why we have some extra questions on anybody applying for the planning commission.
Does this appointment, would this fill all the open positions or coming open positions right now?
It would, I would say there might be another one fairly soon. We shall see, so.
Okay.
And I see he was referred by Matt McKenzie and Grady Bonzel. They're both on the planning commission right now, right?
Correct.
And Zach, but we know who he is, so. Thank you.
Any other questions about Mr. Penrod's application?
I'll make a motion to appoint Curtis Penrod to the Planning Commission.
A motion by Commissioner Redmond,
Second.
second by Commissioner Artzer. Mary, roll, please.
Yes.
Archer.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Redlin.
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Penrod, for volunteering to serve.
Yep, thank you.
Move on to the discussion items. Item A is the electric pedestrian vehicles, scooters, bicycles, etc., ordinance and state statute review.
Mayor, members of the commission, at last meeting there was Commissioner Howard, I believe, made some comment regarding the variety of different motorized vehicles by electric power or by other power that are appearing and operating on our streets and also in the parks and also in other various areas. Police Chief Fairhart put together different information both from state statute and also from city code of what currently is in the code. One item from the city code is there used to be, or there still is, registration for regular old bicycles. I don't know how many years ago that was put into place. We have not registered bicycles in quite a while, but that's a cleanup item as we came across this. But what the police chief has put together is quite a bit of information. And it's just needs some direction at this point about what to discuss. And I'll leave it at that. I'll let Police Chief Earhart provide any additional information regarding what was provided to you in the packet.
Howdy.
Oh,
I don't have any other additional information than whatever's in the packet. I think a focus of the packet, or what's in the code, is where we want bicycles to, or all, basically everything, to be able to ride on sidewalks. Me and Kent briefly discussed it. I know Commissioner Howard has expressed concern about the Stever Park area. If we do end up not allowing bicycles or any other type of anything on those, of course you have the skate park right there. I know there's a lot of people that ride bicycles up to picnic tables and things like that, so that would ban all that. So I did put that in there. I'm not necessarily a fan of that, but I did put that in there just to, basically I made everything as strict as possible, and then for you all to kind of loosen that up and make decisions on what you feel is best. The biggest concern is the Main Street sidewalks that I understand. We can't be everywhere at once, but I've personally stopped probably 5 since the last commission week, and just explained to them they can't do that. I did note, and I did not put it in the ordinance, a lot of cities ban bicycles or any type of other skateboards or anything in business districts. So I did not put that in there because I don't feel like that's probably necessary in Goodland, but that is another option. And then of course like I said, the sidewalk is, I know for the trail, we probably don't want anything on the trail, but then Kent said, well, maybe we would allow low speed or some sort of other bicycles on the trail. So I'll just kind of leave it up to you for questions. I just actually, right before I got here, I had another complaint of 2 electric scooters on Kansas Street. So kiddos about getting hit by cars. So it is a problem, and we're working on it. We respond to calls. The officers are stopping and educating the kiddos as they see them. Also in this, I did include the compliance and parental responsibility and scope. So basically the parent, to hold some accountability for the parents as well.
Well, it looks like you did a really good job on revising and adding to. I mean, I guess my main concern is somebody more on Main Street coming out of business, an older person getting hit and hurt really bad, and who's liable then, and I don't have a problem with having the bicycles on the walking trail or that part of it. They just need to be conscious that a person walking has the right of way, just like a vehicle.
Oh, that's going to be tough, because if you allow them on the walking trail, it's bound to happen.
It is bound to happen,
So,
regardless.
I mean, that's, and the walking trail is a little bit more difficult for us to see.
Right, yeah, and that's why I said I don't really have a problem with that. They just need to know some,
Yeah.
of course, getting people to read rules and everything, we know how that goes.
Yeah, and I made a Facebook post. I mean, and we've, like I said, we're trying education, talking to the kids as we see them doing it.
And I know there's a lot of kids that ride bicycles to the pool and everywhere over there. So,
Yeah, I'm not so sure banning them outright in parks is a good idea, just for that reason. I know
Right,
probably
yeah.
most of the kids that make their way over a certain age to the pool ride by skateboard, scooter, bike.
I mean,
Yeah, I prefer not to do that either.
Yeah.
but-
I mean, I have to watch, because I live right at the pool exit, and I have to watch everybody during the summertime. Vehicles, kids on bicycles, everything come down the street. Yeah, there's a stop sign there, but probably 50% of them don't stop.
Sure, and that's in state statute. I'm not even sure if I put it in the code. A lot of the stuff that, I mean, this is gonna be bare bones by the time it's done because it's already in state statute.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, most of this stuff is in state statute. I mean, I did go ahead and put reference numbers below some of them. But, I mean, most of it is already in state statute.
So my thought, probably take out banning them on the parks.
And you want to allow them on the walking trails as well?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And that includes electric?
It's kind of hard not, if they got pedals, they can say they're pedaling it and not using electric.
Okay.
I mean, how do you differentiate that area?
But yeah, they probably need to, I know I'm guilty of this on my bike with my husband. We've ridden on the sidewalks on Main Street, and I yell at him to stop because I know that's not what we should be doing. So I agree that that's probably okay for those vehicles to be street bound on Main Street.
Yeah, it's Main Street that somebody's gonna get hurt in.
Yeah.
Like I said, we do stop people that are not obeying traffic regulations. That's in state statute. So I think the biggest thing is another thing is the red light and the white light at the front. I mean, I personally have almost didn't see somebody several times, little kids at night. So we're doing education as far as that goes as well.
So at current, the city ordinance does not prohibit pocket bikes, but state statute does. Is that right? Or is that something you're wanting to add? So you have that under the add section.
They currently, yeah, state statute, you can't ride a pocket bike. That's in state statute, but I went ahead and added that in there. And a pocket bike is basically just those ones you see in front of Walmart, you know, that they sell, and then everyone thinks they can ride them, rightfully so. I mean, without checking the code or any state statute. And yeah, they can't. Those cannot be they're gasoline and they can't be operated. But we tend to come across a lot of those. They're available at Walmart, and anything you buy at Walmart apparently you can go do. So, but yeah, those are not allowed by states because you can't register them.
Okay.
And then, you know, I had an unhappy person that I had told they couldn't do that, say that, you know, the electric bicycles actually go faster than those, and I agree, but I don't make the rules. So some of those electric bicycles are upwards of 50 miles an hour. I mean, it's insane. So they go really fast. But they do have to abide by the speed limit. Picking those up on radar might be tough, but.
I'm certainly in favor of cleaning up some of this language here that you don't use anymore, for sure. Get all that clutter out of the city ordinance. And I would also kind of concur with my counterparts here that, you know, probably letting them continue to operate on the trail, especially, you know, around the pool, and making sure the kids are able to get where they need to go there is all right. But, you know, continuing to take a tougher stance on anybody that's riding a bike on Main Street.
What about the walking trail that goes past or to the east of Arcade? Are you still wanting those bicycles on those as well, or everything on those as well? Because that has nothing to do with the pool.
More just bicycles over there probably than anything, especially with the gravel on the other end.
I think it's going to be a pain if we try to pick and choose what parts of the trail are.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
I guess the way I see it is it's open area over there. I think the goal is to try and get them out of Main Street area. And
Sure.
out into that area where it's easier to police for you guys.
I'd rather have them on the trail than on the streets, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and I haven't had any complaints from the actual trail going east at all. I haven't heard of anything going on that way, so.
I had a question about and I say this may just me not figuring out, but every bicycle, it's in D, section 16406D. Every bicycle, well, it talks about the bicycle should be equipped with a brake and no person shall sell a pedal for use on a bicycle. Are these for people who are just selling bikes?
Has that-
Let's say, am I misunderstanding?
I saw that in there too. I wondered the same thing. Talk about the sale of a pedal.
Right? It's in the second paragraph, it's underneath where you talk about the lighting needing used.
Has to be equipped with a reflector.
Yeah, it's underneath that though, is talking about the, no person shall sell a pedal for use on a bicycle unless the pedal is equipped with a reflector. Are this for people who are selling like at garage sales or?
I think that's from, well, actually, that's state statute.
That's state statute. So they're
Really?
not
Okay.
allowed to sell any pedals that don't have reflectors on them.
Oh.
That's basically what that's saying. That's a state statute. I put that, and I can take that out. I mainly put that in there for the lights at night.
Okay. So that's just even on a regular bicycle, not
Yeah.
the scooter as
So
well.
basically, no, that's probably, that was probably put in there for businesses, I would imagine.
Okay.
Like Walmart, when you buy an extra pedal, it has to have some sort of reflector on it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, is this gonna disrupt? I mean, I would assume most of their bikes have reflectors on their pedals. You know, I guess.
It's a state statute, so I can remove it from the ordinance, but,
Sure.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
still I mean, that state statutes are way outdated as well, some of them, so. But I can remove that part. All I really wanted in there was the lights.
Yeah.
So, which that's state statute as well. I mean, pretty much, we have a state statute for pretty much everything, except for the prohibited acts, and the parental, well, similar, no, that has one. I mean, there's quite a few that already have everything in there from state statute. No trick or stunt riding, that's not in state statute. I see Kent doing that a lot. Riding on bicycles, riders limited.
Around pretty quick.
Well, it's gonna be interesting too, like say, when we're trying to cover, like carrying articles. You see a lot of kids like leaving Casey's or anywhere, just carrying a bag of their donuts and their.
As long as they have one hand on a handlebar,
Yeah.
they're good to go. But I mean, cleaning the vehicles, that's a state statute, carrying articles, I mean, most of this is state statutes. Or similar to state statutes.
I would have never guessed.
Can't do that anymore.
So basically what I'm hearing from you, Jason, is that every act right now that we're seeing on the streets, there is some state statute that is covered for that, so you guys can enforce that.
Pretty much. I mean, except for a handful of things. I did, so 16409, that's specific to where you want these to operate, and you can see that there was a ton of places where they couldn't operate, or currently is supposed to be. And then also it says in here that we can just take their bike, basically impound their bike. That's taken out. But I'm not sure if you all, I mean, so we need to have in the code at least Main Street. But if you want, if you want any additional streets, then I need guidance on what to put. So I X'd the entire thing out, and I didn't add anything because I wasn't real sure what the thought process was there. I know Main Street, but I'm not sure how far down, do you want it on the sides as well? That's something to think about as well, on each side of Main Street, at least through the 100 blocks of east and west. Because they have sidewalks and doors, just like the others
I
do.
think Main Street, my idea was Main Street only because they're, for me, like if I go down and do a new storefront, the door has to swing out. Yeah, and it's not saying that they all ride up next to the building, but if somebody rides up next to the building, they swing a door out.
And that's not that
Right
way in
there.
the 100 blocks of the east-west? I'm just asking because I don't know.
Well, on some of it probably is, but not on all of them.
And this is just for the sidewalks, correct? Not banning them on the streets?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just for the
Okay,
sidewalks.
I'm
I'm
just
talking
making
about,
sure.
yeah, 100
Yeah.
east and west. I mean, if you're going to do Main Street, you might
Yeah, I mean,
consider
like-
doing the 100
like over here, they would
of
be.
east-west.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably
you
makes
got-
sense, especially with expanding business over.
Yeah,
there
like
for
Susie, I
Terrebonne
mean,
and-
she has, what, 4 doors
Right,
now,
yeah.
or 3, or whatever it is, so, I mean, that's just one, and then you go down and you have, the Arts Center, and then there's some businesses there, the tanning and the Nicole
Right.
Woods, and,
So do we almost want to think about doing like the business district? Like they can't be on the sidewalks in the business district, like you had mentioned.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could, and I'm not sure, the business district would have to be defined,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if it's defined as the 100 east-west.
Now, could you park on Main Street, park your bike on Main Street if you're going into one of the businesses?
So it says, I have in there now
Oh,
that,
must miss that.
that if there is a
Bike rack.
bike rack available, they can
Okay.
park it there, or they should park it there. If they don't, then they just can't block a doorway or an exit. I believe, I don't know where, I know that was somewhere.
I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that.
I think you were right with what you said.
To me, it probably makes sense to just word it, no bikes be allowed on sidewalks from the 800 block of Main to the 1700 block of Main, and the 100 block of the west direction and the east direction on either side of that street.
Okay.
It looks like when we get this figured out, we need to send this out in something too, so.
And then I'm sure Danny would appreciate if we left on there that they can't be riding in the grass in the parks. He works pretty hard on those,
Yeah.
and I see a lot of kids in the grass.
Knock that off.
And it's stunt riding too, I'm telling you.
Right, it's not riding in the grass in the park.
I see both turn sprinklers.
There you go. Problem solved.
And then they'll run over a sprinkler, and then you got Neil. And then everybody's yelling at me. Then they'll have an electrical pole, and Dustin will call me.
Yeah, and I would say leave the trail as is for right now. I think we play that by ear and see how it goes, so.
Yeah, I haven't had any complaints on that, so.
I know there's lots of trails within, states that don't allow motorized traffic on it, and, I'm not in the probably business of trying to add more restrictions to that. It's a good recreation area for people of all ages, so if we can avoid that, I'd like to try to do that.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in taking things away from the younger kids for them to do, because if they're out riding bikes, that's a little better than some of the other stuff they could be doing.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
It's just times are changing.
Yep.
With how fast things go, and
What other clarification would you like, Chief? You have anything else you need us to clarify?
no, unless you have something additional that y'all would want me to add.
So not right now. I think you got your work cut out for you with everybody out on the streets operating the different motorized
Yeah,
modes
there-
of transportation right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's tons of different ones.
And I think it ebbs and flows. 20 years ago, we had all the motorized scooters or whatever that got sold at Napa on Main Street, and they were a big deal for a year or two, and then it went away. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, everything's going electric now, so.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, Jake, did you get a chance to review this? Do you have issues with any of it?
No.
So I'll revise it, and then, send that back to Kent and Jake, and then go from there.
Sounds good.
So everything that is crossed out, you're agreeing with to go ahead and remove?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do you have any other questions for the chief?
Nope, I don't. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chief. Move on to item B, discussion items, follow up on the power supply contract proposals.
Mayor, members of the commission, we had a report given at last meeting regarding the power supply contract. The proposal is basically just reviewing and testing some scenarios from the power supply contract proposals. As part of that, there was a suggestion made at the meeting that Sunflower was willing to pay for an additional study by a consultant who would be agreed upon between KMEA and through Sunflower and the city of Goodland. We left that alone at the last meeting. And asking you now for staff direction basically to, as far as where we should go from here. Whether there needs to be additional testing or another consultant worked out so that they could provide us a report comparing the proposals. Or if you'd like to take another avenue, or if you'd like the staff to work on one of the contract proposals and be able to present that to you at one of the next meetings.
I guess my personal opinion is if they feel like the report was biased, let them put this new report, let them figure it out, because they do have to work with someone that KME also agrees with. So, that way they feel like it's fair. That's my opinion.
Are we giving, if we do this, are we giving them a deadline so this can't be drawn out months and months?
That's
to do
something to
this?
probably look into. I would agree with that.
That would be up to us, but obviously it will take a couple, 3 months to work with a consultant to have a report back.
Are we in a rush?
We're not in a complete rush right now, no. We have to give notice if we are going to make any changes. If we don't make any changes with Sunflower, we don't have to give a notice a year ahead of time. But that's the only limitation is having to give Sunflower notice that if we were going to change providers. And that needs, according to our current contract, needs to be given at least 1 year ahead of time.
I would say that, me personally, I don't know that I'm necessarily all that interested in having another consultant look at the numbers. I think we found somebody that we felt comfortable with, that was who we determined was an unbiased party, gave us their results. They made a recommendation. I think, I don't know what the likelihood that KMEA and Sunflower could find a consultant that they both agree on. I think it drags the process out even further. To me, I think we're at a point now where I feel like we can make a recommendation unless there's something else contained in this email response that Sunflower sent out that changes city staff's recommendation. I don't know that there's any other information that I need to make the decision. We have it, we can look at it and make a decision at some point in the near future, but I don't know that another consultant on board to give us more information, I think just muddies the waters. Is there anything contained in that most recent email that changes the city staff's recommendation about what direction they feel like the commission should go?
I don't think it does. I'll just confirm with Dustin Bedore, Director of Public Power, if it changed any additional thinkings regarding the contract.
Okay.
And from Mary and Shauna's case, I think that's the way as well. For all of us, yes, there's going to be holes in either contract proposal that don't cover, the 24/7, every single hour of every single day. And it really comes back to the biggest part of it is to me the governance. It's the way of doing business. Sunflower makes, some assertions of how they purchase power, and they do it on a regular basis. They do it for a number of entities. But as far as the communications, and that's been back to Goodland about what has occurred has been not as much information as
Sure.
would work at for the deal. So I don't think from any point regarding from the staff's point of view, there might be some holes, but we'll be well aware of them. And we can take actions. Whereas right now, the relationship is basically, this is the power supply contract, this is according to the contract, and we get a bill. However they came to that bill, that's not provided to us. Now, they have done much better here in the last couple of years, providing us information on, in the middle of the month, of saying how it is looking according to their energy cost adjustment. But as far as how that's calculated or what the bill is calculated as, there is no there's not information. And that may be difficult for Sunflower to provide, but it is not provided at this point, so.
Well, I'm certainly open to the consensus of the commission as far as whether or not they want to allow Sunflower and KMEA to find a consultant they agree on, but as far as me personally, I don't see a need for it. So if you guys feel a certain way, I'll be open to that, but
I don't think we need another one, in my opinion. I mean, like you said, is each one of them gonna find somebody that they're comfortable with? Who knows? You know, so, and we've got our information. We just need to make a choice and then go through the contract and get everything drawn out.
I agree.
Okay, I think the consensus is that we don't need another consultant's report, and I think we're ready for a presentation of the contract that the staff is wanting us to pursue, and we'll make a vote and a decision.
Okay. Is there any direction from the commission regarding which contract that the staff should present?
I personally would like to see the KMEA contract presented.
Same.
I would also like to see the KMEA contract.
Yes.
I agree. I would like to avoid any sort of backlash we might receive for this decision, though. I don't believe we can, but based on how the past has been, I want to make sure we've got our ducks in a row as well.
Did have a conversation with Kirk, who works for Prairie Land, and it just reiterated, and very businesslike, but they just want to reiterate that they think not all the information has been presented. And that was the reason for the email that was sent regarding what they saw as holes in the presentation that was given. But if the decision for the community is one way or for a different company, they would not stand in the way or would not fight it to any sort of degree. They just wanted to make sure that we had all the information before that decision was made. So I did appreciate that conversation. I mean, I really haven't said anything about it till now. It's just that was part of the discussions over the last couple of weeks. So.
I think I'd too, depending upon which way we go, I think it might be beneficial for us to start some conversations with KMEA about whether or not they would be able to assist or help us with a contract buyout for the last year of our Sunflower contract, if that's something they could help with or had some suggestions on. I don't know if that's something they would be open to, but I think, if we decide to move in a different direction, it might be best for us to move on from that contract as quickly as possible to try to avoid any backlash in the coming year.
Okay.
Does anybody else agree or disagree with that?
If they're open to it, I don't think it's it's something we should pursue.
Do you need any other clarification from us?
I think that's enough work for the next 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say about power contracts?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you. Move on to item C, the 2026 budget presentation for the general fund.
Mayor, members of the commission, this is for the 2026 budget. We start discussing this over the next month. And what was included in your packet was just the general fund. Just because there's other things that are occurring that are requiring a lot of attention at this point. We'll present the rest of the budget at our next meeting on July 7th. So, what's the objective for the general fund? We basically want a balanced budget. We want secure reserves. And we've been able to do that, but the reserves are dropping for the general fund. We want to sustain our operations. We want to make investments in our staff. We want facility and infrastructure improvements if possible. And we want to diversify the revenue base if at all possible. So, the economic overview, this is, I don't know. I could put almost anything up there and it might have a possibility of coming true. But right now, our local economy is steady, but there's some uncertainty. The sales tax has remained steady, which is a blessing. Inflation affects every purchase is difficult in either availability, price, or delivery. Either the time it takes to get here or in the availability or the price of such things. Some of that has cooled down here in the last few months, but there's still quite a bit, and included one item that KMU sent out regarding electrical infrastructure, which really doesn't have anything to do with general fund, but that was surprising regarding some of the cost increases over the last few years in electrical infrastructure. We did receive late Friday, or during the day on Friday, the assessed valuation for the city of Goodland, which has a big effect on what we will do with the budget. This past year, we were 42 million and change. We're now, it will be for the upcoming year. Now, it can change when we get to November. That's always a trick. It can change slightly. It's not a final valuation. But it is 43 million and change. So it's just over a million that it increased in valuation, which ends up to be about a 2.8% increase. So, how the general fund works, we have different revenues. We have taxes and fees, and because it's the general, it's kind of the catch-all for everything that doesn't have a specific purpose. So that's why we have taxes and fees. We have licenses and permits. We have different charges for services. Our fines from municipal court and forfeitures. Some intergovernmental revenue funds come in for the city of Goodland, and we also have investment earnings. And then we have a couple of things that don't fit any of those things. So, and then what we expend money on, in Goodland, we have quite a variety of different things. We have the administration, we have police, municipal court, animal control, public transportation, fire, building, street and alley, airport, parks, museum, cemetery, economic development, recreation, and the pool. So almost anything that people deal with City Hall, if it doesn't have to do with utilities, ends up this type of stuff, all this stuff in the general fund. And what we want to do is account for it. So that's what this budget is about. There's three main legs. You know, I gave you an idea of the revenues at the start, but there's basically three main legs that take center stage. And it's the property tax, the sales tax, and then fund transfers from user fees. That funds the majority of the general fund. So if we want the property tax to be lower, well, we better hope, if we want to keep the same amount of services. Now, some people argue that there shouldn't be as many services as provided as there are. But the sales tax revenue, which is very limited for City of Goodland, people will make comments regarding our sales tax, which is 9%, but they have to realize that 6.5% of that 9%, 2/3 of it, goes to the state. And then we have a pass-through sales tax, which we just voted to have on the ballot to allow people to vote whether to extend it or not. There's a sales tax that provides some funding to the school district. And then the county and city share another portion of the sales tax. So there's a very minimal amount, and we can't raise it without a vote. So there's really no additional revenues other than additional sales within the city to raise the sales tax revenue. And then our user fees, there's kind of a limit there as well. Unless we wanted to raise or lower user fees, then it can have effect on the property tax. But here it states, well, right now, this proposed budget has 32% of it funded by the property tax, 28% by sales tax revenue, which if you take the school district out would end up to be about 21%. And then about 20% of this total general funds funded by the transfers from user fees. And then we get all the other cash revenue categories, 15%, and then we use up our cash balance to make budget. Which, that 5% of cash balance, that's what we've been doing over the last few years too. We've been using up that cash balance. Go ahead, Josh. I talked too long, so they went to sleep, so. So, the total revenues increased by $38,000 without including property tax, because that's how we set the property tax. We show all the other revenues and leave zero for property tax, and then to make it balance, then we put whatever number is going to be in the property tax number. So, and the city's been spending down the cash balance. Just one comment for general consideration is that our budget in January 2019 was $3.4 million and change for the general fund. If you put the inflation calculator according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so according to the federal government, that would make us have the same buying power for $4.2 million in last month, in May 2025. The current budget before you is just slightly under that, 4.249767 in the proposed 26 general fund budget. So that's less than what the inflation does, and that's because each year we take a look and we cut an awful lot of stuff out. So, but this has the proposed budget is even less than what inflation would have been. So, go ahead, Josh. Here's our assessed valuation history from 2000. That's probably too small for you to see. It's too small for me to see, but I even know what's on there. But it starts in year 2003. It was flat for the valuation in the city of Goodland for about 10 years. And then we had a slow rise, and then we had a little bit of a jump. And thankfully, it's still rising a little bit. Thankfully, as far as city goes, I know some people have a little different viewpoint on that. They'd rather their value stay the same for their property until they sell it. Then they want the most of the money that they can get. But go ahead, John. This is just another chart that shows property tax has the biggest bar on the bottom, sales tax is midway below it, and then utility transfers a little bit below that, and then the other two major categories. Go ahead, Josh. Okay, these are each of the departments, which you saw in the packet. And what we show in the packet is, and staff does an awesome job putting together, the department heads revise or put in a request as far as both with the numbers and then also with the words. We'll show you each department with the numbers, and Mary does a great job putting that together. And she also puts together quite a bit regarding the basic format regarding the words that are associated with it, which shows you line by line what that line item is spent for, and then also has a couple questions at the end, which includes how they mitigate costs, number of people in that department that's paid out of that department, also what challenges they see for the next 3 to 5 years. And then and some of them will also have on the end their vehicles and their equipment that are used in their various things. So I say all that, that's in the packet. This is just a short review. The general government is the admin, it's the overall, the personnel. This budget includes the pay plan that we had, which has step increases, and then cost of living at 3%. That's what the current proposed budget has within it. The contractual, it shows the school sales tax receipts that have increased. Insurance went up quite a bit, 20 grand or more. And that's basically for all the different buildings. and then also vehicles that are assigned within the general part of it. Professional services, which includes the city attorney, the comprehensive plan, and grant assistance. There's a small increase for equipment maintenance and repair, basically stuff within the city hall building. Capital outlay, that is one additional item you may not know about. This budget includes repainting the Van Gogh, the big easel, next year. Put 15,000 in it. We've had some communication with the artist. He's willing to come back. But it also would require us to help him to be able to do that. There's crane and other stuff that needs to be done to bring the picture down. There's a little bit of reserve. There's a dispatch model, remodel, payback, and then what's that?
Dispatch payback, we took that off last year.
Okay, my mistake.
No, it's fine.
I must not have gotten to that point. All the other items are on there though, so included in this budget. So go ahead with the next one, Josh. Police, there is some increased cost for personnel. The software is significantly less because they moved to a different ticketing system. That's caused it to be somewhat less. Professional service, which includes a variety of items, is up. The operational supplies is up about $2,000, but that's not a huge amount within the police department's budget. The body dash cam payment, we're at the end of it, thank goodness, which probably means we just get to
Renew it.
start on another one. Did include $10,000 for the roof for the Armory building. Increased from $5,000 last year. There's a little bit more concern. And then the MRF is additional for vehicle. We, had that about a month and a half ago, purchasing 3 vehicles. One's an outright purchase, the 2 others are on lease payment. One of those lease payments is part of this budget in '26. Go ahead, Josh. The municipal court, we included a retirement expense, which that's part of our contract with our employees, basically, through our personnel policy. That's included in the '25 budget. We're looking at changing it to a contractual judge and just salary for the municipal court clerk. So it'll be a little bit differently set up.
Is that the professional services?
Yes, for the increase there, yeah. So basically have it there instead of in salaries. So salaries is reduced quite a bit. Contractual, we have judge, we have special prosecutor, we have prisoner care and indigent defense. Both of those, we have a certain amount, but they could be used up very, very quickly if we had a significant thing happen. And then the rest of it, there's not much in the rest of that budget. Animal control. There's no significant changes to the contractual within this budget, but there is a concern from staff about how much longer the current contract will continue. Just because, and we get great benefit from the current animal control officer, but I just don't know how much longer that, that it's not going to be a decade more, So in one of these years, it's going to be a big issue. And actually, Jason put it in part of his description in both the police department budget and the animal control budget, as far as start putting aside money to create a dog pound at the PD. Because it isn't just the services of the animal control officer, it's going to be the care and the holding area for the animals. So,
Because it's out at her private residence right now, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it really couldn't be moved or
Yeah.
don't want to move it. So, that's with animal control. Any concerns, comments, complaints, questions about what I've described so far?
I had a question about the Van Gogh repainting.
Sure.
Is there any way do we have to cover all that? Or is there any way we could enlist help from other organizations like the SCCD or the foundation?
One place that might be a possibility is there is a grant available through the state, but how likely that is, I don't know. Just later in the budget is our funding towards economic development.
Yeah.
To me, it'd almost be circular to come back to that.
Okay.
But there might be ways, I don't know. I haven't investigated it that much.
Okay.
Go ahead with the next one, Josh. Van transportation, which we have wages for 2 part-time personnel, drivers within that. Grant requirements and other advertising are in the contractual, and there's a slight increase in the commodities in this fund. We keep putting aside money for a new van. We were fortunate to get a used van last time, but we put some miles on that van. And the state keeps reducing their funding for these services. For the last 2 years, they've reduced their portion by 10%. But they still have restrictions saying that it can only be used during these hours and for only these purposes. Because we asked them specifically if we could use the van for like Flatlanders, for example. And we would violate the contract, they'd kick us out. So I don't know why this is so strict regarding this funding for the transportation van, but, and then and I don't know why this needs to be put the squeeze on from state budget as well, because this is helping the poorest members of our community, so. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, I get a little upset about that, so.
I guess I'll get off it too.
Go ahead with the next one, Josh. The fire department, as was during the city and county meeting, there was a request from the fire board for increasing the amount from the city by 3%. That's included in this budget. If that was separately paid by a property tax mill levy, it would be about just under 6 mills, or right at 6 mills. But that's the only item within that. It used to have, obviously, when we had a city fire department, more things involved. Now it's just one bill. So, go ahead, Josh. Building inspection. We continue to share an administrative assistant through the building official and through my office, and also up front with the city clerk. The contractual, there's testing and certification tests, there's professional services, including weed abatement, building removal, and nuisance abatement, and tree removal. They're all included there. There's over 50,000 set aside. We have a slight increase to match the actuals for advertising notices. It's costing us more to do that. And then the schooling. The one thing, we have balances in nuisance housing and tree removal. However, we got 2 hotels, Res Care, and 17th and Main, although 17th and Main may or may not. It keeps kind of a lot of discussion about it, and hopefully something will occur there. But those are 3 3 categories of properties that we may be asking the commission to go ahead with plans for demolition. It's going to cost a whole lot more than 50 grand to take care of either of the hotels, or Res Care for that matter. And that'll just be the one. Whereas we take down about 4, 5, 6 homes a year. So, do we start setting aside more towards those type of properties? That's a huge ticket item. You know, probably it'll be $250,000 take down one of the hotels.
At least.
Yeah, that's probably
cheap.
generous. So, or being way too conservative, but
Is that in the budget right now, holding back that 50,000 in the professional services?
we have, I don't know, what was it, 56,000 or something like that in the budget right now.
Okay,
And
Also for weed notices and
that's part of
other
all of it.
demolitions, it's not specifically for the hotels.
Right.
there's really nothing in the budget right now for hotels.
Okay. And if we wanted to set this aside and then it comes up that the owner of the hotels, they're able to do what they need to do and stuff, is this money, does it have to be used for demoing one of these large buildings?
No,
Or would it be
it's
enough?
very similar to houses.
Okay.
where we can use it for other demolitions that are required or other nuisance abatement. Similar to what has happened just recently at 10th and Kansas, where it was scheduled for, had a public hearing, could have been, in fact, we took bids on it, but we just held them, and the owners can come forward and are taking it down themselves. So it would be that similar thing. Any other questions, concerns? Next one, Josh. Street and alley. Just with our payroll system right now, overtime is included within the same general fund line item as regular salaries. We used to split it in two. So when you look at the actuals on previous, and it has some overtime, and then it has 0, 25 or 26, don't worry about it. It's there within the salaries. And that's on multiple budgets. That's not just for street. That's on multiple. So the bulk fuel remains at a little bit higher level. Other utilities increased 1,000. Otherwise, there's no other changes to what's included in the budget. The uniforms are slightly less. Capital outlay, we do concrete work, paint alleys, valley gutters, or paint alleys and do concrete work in alleys and valley gutters. What we put aside in the SURF is replace the underground tanks, crush concrete, chip seal, and then a certain amount for the second part of Cherry, which is, we did that one block in between the Big E Zone, Pioneer Park. The second part of Cherry is from in front of Dollar General and the radio station to the railroad tracks. And then the MRF is a number of items. It's 104,000 right now. That's one of the items that would probably be paired if we want to go lower than this proposed budget, which we'll probably end up having to do anyway. That's what I've had to do every single year since I've been here. So, but I do want to the entire staff wants to show you what's items that are being requested, even if it is cut out from the budget. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a good reason for the request.
Yeah.
I would say all the items that are being requested are not fluff. I don't know if the commission would agree with that or not, but it's a matter of choosing which need is most important right now.
Well, I think it gives the public a good picture of what the needs are, and then the work that you guys do to pare down and get it to the number that is palatable for everybody. So, if somebody were to come back and watch these meetings and get involved in the budget process, they would see it's not just here's how much we want, so give us that money, that there's a thought process that goes along with it, and this is where we start to where we end. So I like it.
The next department fund is the airport. There's a little bit of property taxes that we need to pay because the airport, that's just the rules regarding it. We end up having to pay a little bit. There's a little bit of equipment maintenance since we have the snow removal equipment and other items at the airport, which also is part of the capital outlays for broom and blade replacement when needed on the airport maintenance. And then there's a certain amount of $5,000 set aside for the Eagle Med hangar. That's the hangar that's owned by the city. Eagle Med uses, and there are different maintenance items that come up regarding that hangar. And we want to keep that hangar in good shape because a new hangar would probably be 7 figures or more. So I'd rather not spend that. I'd rather make sure we spend enough thousands to take care of it. Parks is really not much different from the previous years. The one thing I will say is that we don't have anything set aside for the surf. Although people continue to bring requests for additional projects in the parks. Shade structure, pickleball surface, basketball goals, and there's others than those there. Those have just been the more formal requests. And our parks do get quite a bit of use. So, and to staff, it really is a window on a community, how well they take care of parks. I'm glad we have the people that we do take care of it. And then the MRF, there's a certain amount of money set aside for the next ZTR mowers, and then the IT backbone and park equipment, because there's different stuff involved with IT in the parks as well. We have a museum, historic museum. It's kind of fun to see. And the insurance is up on the museum. Actually, it's a little more than what you would think on the museum. Otherwise, there's not too much. We do set aside some additional money for $10,000 for the roof and the museum. It's another building that we're going to have to replace the roof sometime soon. Not like soon, but that vague word soon. And then a new alarm system and an IT backbone. Go ahead, Josh. Cemetery. The caretaker's contract is up next year. That includes a small increase. There's other utilities. There's a little bit more on building maintenance because the chapel and the caretaker's shed, we continue to try to maintain those buildings. And we do set aside for the chapel roof. We got another roof we need to, at some point, take care of. Chapel's okay. Go ahead, Josh.
I had a question about the cemetery. I know a few years ago we had talked about trying to set aside money to purchase more land to try to expand the cemetery. Has that been a discussion or contemplation again, or is that?
We don't set aside in the general, but we have it in another fund, do we?
Improvement is where we've been taking that from.
Okay.
I was gonna ask the same question.
So there is money being set aside.
Okay.
Now, whether that will be an easy negotiation, whichever direction, I won't say it will be easy.
Well, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think one year, didn't we cut that out and then we put it in the next year? So we've had a year in there where we haven't done it.
Yes.
Started it a couple years ago.
Okay. So I thought we
Because
talked
was
about
a
it at
year
one
we
time and then cut
out,
it.
And then we started it because
Yeah.
we realized it's really serious.
Yeah. Thank you.
The next little department fund that we have is basically economic development. This meet requirements of the agreement for the Sherman County Community Development. There's a small increase in the draft budget. We did spend some money to make the changes to the restroom, or coordinate with SCCD. They help pay for it as well. Small amount set aside for the building, the Welcome Center building. Not for the building where they have the office now on Main Street, but the Welcome Center building. And that's about it for that department. Recreation, we basically have a contractual amount we work out with the Goodland Activities Commission, GAC. There's no change from the revised amount. That's basically from the director of the GAC. We do put in recreation department 2 items that we set aside money for that we know we'll eventually have to do. Resurface the tennis courts and the infield conditioner. And then we also have a balance still remaining for replacing the tractor that they use for the ball fields at our couple of, yeah, just ball fields, right? The tractor that the rec uses,
Is it for more than just rec?
yeah, I think that's just the portion for the rec. There's a discussion among staff regarding tractors, so I won't get into that because I get confused trying to follow between them. Go ahead, Josh. And then the final department fund within the general fund is the Stever Water Park. Personnel expenditures is the majority of this fund. But that expenditure also depends on the weather, just like we had 1 week without the pool. And the pool's basically open for 10 or 11 weeks, so 1 week, that's 10% of the summer. The insurance for Stever Water Park is up. So we increased a little bit on the supplies. We do put aside 10,000 for pool improvements. Sometimes we end up cutting that. That's why it's 8,000 last year. When it says last year, that means the current year, 25. And then we did the same in the MRF part of it. Water park, it's basically $100,000 in the red in 24. As far as we have $100,000 more expenditures than what we receive in revenues. But it's an amenity. So we know it's a cost center and it does cost money for it. So. But I don't know if the public is aware of that, of how much that actually costs. So. Go ahead, Josh. I think I just have a summary. It's basically, we're changing one more position to a contract. That's what's proposed for the municipal court and municipal judge duties. Contracts will be covered, animal control, fire, the economic development, and recreation. We need to strengthen revenues long-term, or eventually we're going to need to reduce services. Just what I showed you on the revenue part of it. Quite a bit more to present on the remaining funds at the next meeting. And that, since we just went over general fund, in previous years we also did the other tax funds. We basically just did the general fund this time. But we'll give you the other tax funds and then especially the utility funds. And health insurance and a lot. But the remainder of the budget. Has this, is this okay as far as how it's been presented so far?
Yes, this makes it very palatable for me personally. I can understand what's going on.
Okay. We'll continue in this same method. That doesn't mean the questions get easier. Questions at the end are going to be probably some difficult questions. And at the end of the next meeting, we'll probably ask you something because basically we have 2 more meetings before we have to notify the county, 2 regular meetings, whether we are going to meet R&R or not. The revenue net neutral.
Because the meeting's so late in July, the first one.
Yeah, it's like right on the day or something.
Yeah.
It's not just one.
It's
though.
before our second meeting in July.
No, we'll have to confirm that. So.
Okay. It is. She just confirmed it.
But we'll work on that. So that's the end of the budget presentation for tonight.
Well, as usual, Kent, I certainly have appreciated the last 4 years of you guys working together to make this very easy to understand for those of us who aren't involved in large-scale budgeting. It's easy to comprehend what you guys have been working on, and it's can see the effort and the time that goes into the presentation and the decisions that you guys have to make before it ever gets to us to have even tougher decisions. So we would certainly appreciate you and all the department heads working together to make it as easy a lift for us as possible. So thank you.
You bet.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns about what's been presented so far for the general fund?
No.
I do not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it gets kind of close there once we get to July, so.
Okay. Thanks, Josh. All right, we'll move on to reports. Start off with city manager. Like to talk some more?
Oh, no.
Let's talk some more.
Including in your package manager memo, the May month-end financial report, the police monthly activity report for May. We had that contract with Idea Tech. They've had some folks in town continue a poll survey. Did have some announcements go out, and they've contacted some folks on their own as well. As far as, have you had any issues, Dustin, with your crews and them? Or have they contacted you at all since
They
this time?
contacted me with some concerns on utilities, whether it be AT&T or Vive now, just not being up to any SC codes of 15 feet over the alleys and stuff like that. But a lot of that has to do with older homes. The clearances on the homes are about as high as you can go. So they ask about the codes, and I said we just can't make the any worse than what it is. It's got to be as good or better. So that's the only communication I've had with them.
Thanks.
And they're continuing, aren't they, Dustin? They're not finished yet, right?
Yeah, they're still here. So it was going to be a process. I think they got it broke down into different areas of town. But they started, I think, north of the field house was day one, and they've got several crews going. So
Thanks, Dustin.
Also included was the information from KMU regarding electrical costs. That was kind of interesting. And also the report regarding the North Water Tower repairs and coatings report. Thought that might have been interesting regarding the inside of the water tower and how it looks spanking new. Then Neil proceeded to fill it with water and
Get it all dirty.
And then you guys had originally said that you wanted to have a work session after the regular meeting tonight. So if you guys want to continue with that, we can. If you choose not to, you can just let us know too. So. But we'll need an executive session here, and actually for probably quite a bit of time, at least 20, 30 minutes. So.
I think the work session, I think we probably asked everybody to stay long enough, so I think maybe we can work on a rescheduled date for that fits everybody's schedule better and not keep everybody till 10 o'clock tonight. So I think we get our work done with our executive session and then postpone the work session. Is that amenable to everybody?
Yeah.
I'm indifferent.
Do we just want to put it next Monday or the following Monday, or?
Brooke's the hardest one to meet at this point.
Yeah, I go to days coming up here, so that means I go to 8 o'clock at night. So unfortunately, it makes it harder.
Well, I'm just wondering now that we've actually sat here for a meeting and then stare down the barrel of having to do one of these after a meeting, if maybe we just continue with our original setup of doing them on a day where we don't have a meeting. We just do it on a night where we don't have a meeting, because that's a big ask for you guys that have been working all day.
we're willing to do it, whatever works. Mary didn't like that I said "we," but.
I meant to say it's a big ask for Mary and Sean to be working all day.
I'm joking. It is the job.
So if we're looking at next week, I can do the 24th through the 27th. That's Tuesday through Friday.
I'm free whenever, so I'll be
The
here.
Friday it will be in Hayes for the BRE.
So Tuesday through Thursday.
Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday would work.
I can do Tuesday or Wednesday.
I could do Thursday, but not Tuesday or Wednesday. Can we do a Thursday? Thursday the 26th?
I might be a few minutes late, but at 5 o'clock, right?
I do, but I'm not heading to that because of that BRE course with Fort Hays Tech Northwest. I'll be heading to Hayes on that Friday, so.
So are we thinking Thursday?
Maybe Thursday might just be a few minutes late, but
Or we can bump it to 5:30?
yeah, 5:30.
That helps
Thursday,
you.
Thursday at 5:30?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay.
That next week?
26.
Yes, 26th. Oh boy.
That work for you?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to think if my wife has scheduled something. I don't think so.
We'll zoom you in if we need to.
You can secretly send text.
Yeah.
Oh, I think those are now.
Perfect.
It might be,
Thank
though.
you.
It's supposed to be. Is that 5:30?
All right, we'll move on to the city commission reports. I'll start on my right with Commissioner Artser.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Myers?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Howard?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Redland?
Just a few things. So I was kind of putting out ideas to the community about, I know I brought it up, I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, about the idea of people being able to have funds put on their utility bill for water park. And there's a lot of ideas. And I think, I'm not saying that we do something that's like mandatory, but like if there's the ability to like give the option, because there's a lot of people that want to provide that because they think it's great for the kids. And I do agree. I think the water park is good for the kids. And having the ability for people to do something like that, I don't know what that's going to look like on the accounting side, like how that's going to, how we facilitate those things. But I think it's something for us to look into because there are a lot of people that want to be able to give something like that. Or if we continue the way that we did this last round, if that worked for you guys, I don't know. I would love some feedback on that stuff.
One thing that came as a suggestion, and was kind of interesting, was the Sherman County Community Foundation. Tina came over and had a suggestion about whether the city would be willing to help or to set up a fund at Sherman County Community Foundation, which could then be contributed to all year round. And it could be not just pool, it could be other things during the year that, as far as different admissions or something for different sets of youth. So that was another idea that was brought forward that might be worth some consideration. And in addition to having something that works with the pool, which is obviously and actually there was more response than was expected. And is that completely expended at this point, or?
There's room for a couple more.
Do you have a total of how many?
Shauna?
We, 55 passes were donated.
Wow, so that's about what I said, 30 to 60.
So it's worked out real well this year, but it was kind of word of mouth almost. And even in how to handle it here at City Hall. So if we could have a better format, that would certainly be a good thing. So.
Yep. Well, this was kind of a spur of the moment. I was asked, and you guys helped facilitate a lot of that, and so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you guys for stepping up. It really did mean a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to Mr. Shores being able to do something like that. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And if we could potentially somehow get it set up with this, if we did the fun thing with the foundation and somehow get it set up with a nonprofit, then it would be eligible for match day, which could be cool too, just through the foundation. But you have to be a nonprofit to be eligible for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the main reasons Tina was suggesting it. So.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it, Brooke.
Yep, thank you, Brooke.
I just kind of put pieces together. It was really you guys. The city staff, I really didn't do much. I just kind of connected people. That's really it.
Okay, thank you. And for the mayor's report, I don't have anything to add. I would make a motion at this point to go into executive session.
One other announcement, Mayor.
Go ahead.
We received notification this week that Shauna Johnson, our deputy city clerk, has completed her for certification to be a certified municipal clerk, a CMC.
Nice. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Took
Thank you.
3 years of training.
Wow.
Wow.
It wasn't just Army training. It was training, so.
Army training, sir. Well, good work, Shauna. We appreciate all your work on that. That's a really cool acknowledgement to get, so congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations.
And I thank the city for the opportunity too, so.
We good now?
No, I think we did.
Just would make sure there wasn't anything else.
More elbows in your ribs.
Well, I would make a motion under the authority of KSA 75-4319 D2 for consultation with an attorney for a public body which would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship to go into executive session at this time.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Redland. All those in favor? For how long? We'll say 25 minutes.
Sure.
It's 25 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. right, call this meeting back to order. And I would make a motion to go into executive session for a period of 5 minutes under the authority of KSA 754319B2 for the consultation with an attorney for the public body, which be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Howard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Call this meeting back to order. Does anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Nope. Then I would make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a second by Commissioner Myers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.